In this video series, we'll be discussing the services that are available through GSA's Multiple Award Schedules program, including how to find them and the procedures and requirements that apply when ordering services. This video series is for ordering agencies that require GSA schedule services and that can benefit from the easy and cost-effective solutions the program offers. In this second video of the series, we'll cover the services available in the MASS program and the basics for acquiring those services. This includes acquisition planning and when to use a statement of work. The GSA offers more than 40 million supplies and services through the MASS program. These are acquired through 33 open and standing solicitations published on FedBiz Ops, including 9 managed by the Department of Veterans Affairs. There are over 17,000 schedule contracts in the MASS program. 80% of them are small business, and with MASS, orders and BPAs can be set aside for small business. This all results in about $50 billion in accumulated spending through the schedules, including the VA. The Schedules program offers a wide range of commercial services. As you can see from this extensive list, the schedules can be used for diverse services such as marketing a program and delivering public service announcements, recycling computer monitors, food service for soldiers in Afghanistan, agency reorganizations, even GSAs, aircraft electronic maintenance, sign language, and redesigning avionics for Army helicopters. And while we are focusing on services in this video, there is also a wide range of supplies that are available through the schedules. Note that the non-manufacturer rule only applies to orders that have been set aside for small business. There is a very informative blog post on Interact that covers the GSA schedules and the NMR. So let's take a look at the GSA Services Schedules. Many of the services offered through MASS are grouped under the Professional Services Schedule. Other services schedules include Facilities Maintenance and Management, Information Technology Services, Security Solutions, Temporary Administrative and Professional Services, Professional and Allied Healthcare Staffing Services. A quick note about the Temporary Administrative and Professional Services Schedule. This schedule is often referred to as TAPS. It does have some limitations. The time limit for temporary services is 120 days, plus a 120-day extension. Use of the same employee is subject to the 240-day limitation within a 24-month period. Any given schedule includes multiple contracts and special item numbers. Special item numbers, or SINs, are GSA's categorization method that groups similar products, services, and solutions together to aid in the acquisition process. A SIN, under schedule contracts, is similar to a contract line item number, or CLIN, under a standard contract. For example, Professional Engineering Services, which is part of the Professional Services Schedule, encompasses a full range of engineering disciplines from civil to aeronautical to industrial engineering and construction management. Services are grouped into SINs as displayed here. It is important to remember when competing an order to specify which SIN or SINs the scope of your requirement falls under. Only those contractors that hold those SINs may compete on your order. Orders may be protested for being out of scope if your RFQ specifies the incorrect SIN. Before we talk about the acquisition process for MASS, let's take a closer look at pricing and some limitations on schedule services. There are 2 types of pricing for services awarded under schedule contracts: firm fixed price and hourly rate. Firm fixed price is an inclusive price for a particular service. For example, language SINs may price translation services by the word and not the hour. Another example is a training class. The class may be offered at a firm fixed price per student. Hourly rate prices under MASS are fully burdened firm fixed price hourly rates. Due to the fact that MASS contracts are awarded using FAR 12 procedures, we usually do not negotiate rates based on cost elements. We utilize price, rather than cost evaluation methodologies to the maximum extent practicable. This is because the allowable cost and payments clause, FAR 52.2167, does not apply to commercial acquisitions. Without the protection of that clause to adjust final indirect cost rates, negotiating estimated cost elements to determine fair and reasonable pricing would be too risky. Here are contract types that are not accommodated under the Schedules program. In addition, the scope of some services offered on a schedule may be limited by its description. For example, Schedule 871 for professional engineering services does not include FAR Part 36 design or construction services. There are two FAR requirements you need to consider before planning any acquisition. The first is FAR 8.002, Priorities for Use of Mandatory Government Sources. This FAR provides a priority list of government publications and sources for satisfying requirements for supplies and services. Note that the GSA wholesale supply sources are not the MASS program. If agencies are unable to satisfy requirements through mandatory sources, FAR 8.004 encourages them to consider satisfying requirements through the following non-mandatory sources before considering commercial sources in the open market. Also keep in mind that the acquisition planning policy in FAR 7.102A4 requires you to consider using pre-existing contracts before awarding new ones. Now let's walk through the basic acquisition process for MASS services. When using MASS to acquire services, there are milestones for each acquisition cycle. The first is acquisition planning. For schedule orders, the goals for acquisition planning are to define or refine the actual requirement, determine the best procurement approach to ensure the requirement is met, decide if schedules can provide the services required, ensure that the right services are provided on time and within budget. Generally, under the Schedules program, a written acquisition plan is required only if the total dollar amount exceeds the simplified acquisition threshold. For the second milestone, market research, ordering activities will want to investigate a variety of factors related to their service requirement. This includes researching skill sets and competencies related to the service, industry trends in the service arena, performance standards and surveillance methods, small businesses on the schedule who are qualified to perform part or all of the order, sustainability and the availability of green services, and best practices and lessons learned in conducting acquisition of similar services, just to name a few. Remember, market research should be conducted only among schedule holders, as FAR 8.4 procurements shall not be competed outside the Schedules program. A good article to reference detailing this fact is A Tale of Two Markets, written by a DoD contracting officer. The third and fourth milestones are communicating the need for services and describing the work. When awarding service-based contracts, the Office of Management and Budget and the Office of Federal Procurement Policy have mandated that agencies use performance-based acquisitions, or PBA. PBA offers a number of advantages. Among them, it facilitates developing a strategic linkage to mission needs, increasing the likelihood of meeting them. It focuses on intended results rather than process, creating the potential for better value and enhanced performance. It allows offerers flexibility in proposing solutions, thereby creating a competition of ideas and presenting the agency with a variety of solutions from which to choose. What should be avoided is PB3, or performance-based body buying, where the requirement focuses on labor category shopping and not a specific task to be completed. Remember, as previously stated, when competing an order, you need to specify which SINs the scope of your requirement falls under. Only contractors that hold the specified SINs may compete on your order. Again, orders may be protested for being out of scope if your RFQ specifies the incorrect SIN. GSA can help you with all scope determinations. So, how do we determine when to use a statement of work? First, determine what type of service is being acquired. The importance of whether or not an SOW is used determines which FAR 8.405 ordering procedure is utilized. For example, a requirement for an oil change would be considered a firm fixed price service that would not need an SOW. In this case, the ordering agency would follow FAR 8.4051 ordering procedures for fixed price services. A requirement for performance management and continuous process improvement services utilizing professional services labor categories requires an SOW. Whether or not the RFQ contemplates a firm fixed price solution or a time and materials labor hour solution, the ordering procedures at FAR 8.4052 must be used, as an SOW is required. Next, determine the dollar amount of the order. There are 3 thresholds related to the dollar amount of the order: below the micro-purchase threshold, above the micro-purchase threshold but below the simplified acquisition threshold, and above the simplified acquisition threshold. Remember, FAR 8.4052 ordering procedures for services require an SOW for orders between the micro-purchase threshold and SAT, and for orders above the SAT. Now, here is the documentation required for orders requiring an SOW. You can find these documentation requirements under FAR 8.4052F. Note, for the last item in the list, the determination is often misconstrued to require a full-blown FAR 1.7, Determinations and Findings, or DNF. It is not a DNF, simply a determination of the best procurement approach. And here is the required documentation for orders that do not require an SOW. You can find these documentation requirements under FAR 8.4051G. This concludes Basics of Buying Part 1 of the Buying Services through GSA Schedules video series. Now that you have an understanding of what services are available on MAS schedules and the basic procedures for acquiring services, including determining the need for a statement of work, you're ready to learn more about using the MAS program. In the next video, Basics of Buying Part 2, we'll pick up where we left off in planning your acquisition by discussing advisory and assistance services. We'll also cover limited sources justifications and awarding and administering task orders for schedule services. See you there! For more information on buying services through GSA Schedules, visit gsa.gov/psschedule. For updated training information, visit gsa.gov/masnews. And if you have any questions regarding the information in this video series, email us at professionalservices@gsa.gov.